Hi everyone, this is Mike Thoming with CIT 360, and we're doing a quick demonstration of the Java HTTP URL connection. And so, quick idea of what I'm trying to do here. The idea for my final project is I want to perhaps make a website where a user can enter in a car model, car make and model, and a VIN number, and save a new car record into a database. And so one of the elements that I'm going to need for that is a list of car make and models. And I'm going to create that list myself, so I thought I would use the connection to reach out to another website that has that info. And so you can see here this URL that I've got, and this is not a totally comprehensive list, but it's got quite a few on here. So I thought I'd use this as an example of how to reach out and get that data. So I have my HTTP class here, and first I declare my user agent. This is fairly routine. Mozilla 5.0 apparently is the right version that will allow this to work with most any modern browser. Then we create a new HTTP URL connection object, and then we run the send get function, or out of that object. So what does send get do? Well, first of all, we set a URL string and we give it the URL that I just showed you. We create a URL called object and create it as a new URL. We create a new connection variable, and then we set that connection variable and we set the request method of it to a get, because we're going to go out to that website and get data. Then we set the request property for that con variable. We declare the user agent index and the actual value of that. Then we set a response code, and that equals the we're sending a get request that we declared up above here, and from what the response code is that we're getting back. So let's just run that real quick, just up to that point. All right. Sometimes it does take a second to connect. So we show the at us here, and I'll use sending the start getting so that you know what we're doing. All right, so that's finished. Okay, so like I said, we're sending the get request to this URL. The response code we get is a 200, so that's what we want. And then we start a new buffered reader. We call it in, and we also start a new input stream reader, and that uses the connection get input stream function. We start a new input line. We start a new string buffer variable, and then we run a quick loop that while the input line is equal to the read line and it's not null, then it's going to append a line from the response. And so that's just going to continue to get data from that URL as long as there's data available to get. So it gets everything, and then we close that connection. So we've got all that data now from that website, but it's a lot more than what we need. So for example, if I go back to my page here and I hit F12, got a lot of data here, and I don't want all of it. I don't need all of it. All I really want is this stuff. So if I choose inspect on one of those lines, it's going to show me what that looks like. So this particular one is inside of a TR and a TD tag, and this is an Audi, and then there's a Q2 value. I want to get just this out of all that batch. But I have to get the whole page in order to get anything at all, so I'll take all of that, and then I have to parse this out. I'll show you how that's done. But basically, all of these TR rows here, these are all the different values that I want. So I'm getting all of that, which is good. I'm just getting a bunch of other stuff that I don't want. But I have to take the good with the bad, so I will take that, and then that's what you're seeing here. This row is a representation of all of the data that I got from that site, unformatted. I mean, it is just a long bunch of stuff. Yeah. And then, so now you start to see down here, I haven't reviewed this yet, but this is where I'm getting closer to what I really want. And I did that by using this array list element. Well, first of all, I used the this JSoup tool that takes a new document. All that HTML data was put into this document, and I'm using the JSoup tool to parse it using the response to string function that I used up here to show all that to the user. So that takes all that data, puts it into this doc variable, and then I use an array list on that rows variable. And I'm sorry, I use an array list on a rows variable, and I set it equal to the document value, the data that's in this document, where a row is equal to, a row header is equal to TD. So this select tag tells it to look for anything where the row where the value starts with a TD, and that's where I start to get this data here. So it found that this TD value equals what I stated here, so it grabs that whole line. And then it found the next one that starts with a TD, it grabs that whole line, and it did that for all of these rows, all the way top to bottom. And so that's a representation of all that data back on this page that I wanted. But it's still not quite what I wanted in the end result. As you can see there, it still has a bunch of junk around it. I really just want BMW 2 series, BMW 3 series, BMW XI, and so on. I don't want all the other header stuff here. But I went ahead and printed this out for the user to see, just so that you can tell that we're making progress here. Well, then I did a counter loop here, and I created an element variable called link, and I'm still using that doc select. So I'm taking the data that's in that doc variable, and I'm selecting it using the TD tag. But then I do this get action using my I integer counter, and then I run a loop. So as it loops through for the entire rows variable that I created before, as it loops through each record in that rows variable, it's going to use this doc select to find every row with a TD, and it's going to then run the get action on that, and that then allows me to print out filters out everything except for using this the string text that I wanted. So that once we get down to the bottom here, now you can see I've got just car makes and models with everything else filtered out, right? So we've got the Audi A3, we've got the Audi Q2, BMW 1 Series, 2 Series, 3 Series, right? So this was incredible to get to this point and be able to show just those values. Took quite a bit of time, but it worked, and that's what we want. So got a little more to do with that yet to reach the end result of what I want in my final program, but I think this shows a decent example of how to get data from a URL and parse it out to show just the information that you want. So hopefully that's been helpful, and we'll see you guys next time.